on our step here, the leaf spring mount, I've kind of ground back a little bit, actually quite a bit. Still pooching out a little bit, so I want to make like this pan kind of curve down and cover it, but also look factory. I don't know if I want to do just a little one over this or actually go from here down to there, but we'll see how we end up here. But after fighting some bolts, we beat the good fight, and now I need to fix a few things, like blown out pieces, and this piece is like rolled in and kind of bent up in this area, so we're gonna work it out. So I'm still trying to decide what I'm doing here, but I am just kind of messing around with this piece. I think something like this might work. I want to run a bead roll across the top of this so it kind of steps where that seam is, and then I might fold it under back on this bottom part, but then I want the ends capped, or maybe not. I don't know what I'm doing. We're playing it by ear. That's what we're doing. Okay, I got my bead roll in that top part. As you can see, got a little ways off of there, and I don't have my tape measure. Here's a long lost one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend this bottom in. So this is about right. I might have taken off a bit much, but it's right there. Kind of see, end up with a nice little rounded out guy. Could really just cut this off and then spot weld this lip right on here, and then I'd have to take a little bit out of the back here where that brace is, or where that leaf spring perch is, which is what we're doing. I was originally thinking that I would fold in the ends. I still might be able to do a little bit. So we're gonna nip our corners out of there, and then we can fold that in, and I can cut from here to here. I could probably use the shrinker and stretch it around, but I might just make a different piece for it. I think this is the right idea, but I almost want to redo it just because it's not quite right. And if I did make it right, in the end it would be less work to finish off. It'd probably work. Thing to do with something like this is, it's the end of the day, so I'll come back to it tomorrow, see what I think of it. Alright, so new day, shining down on this wonderful piece, and I want it to curve in a little tighter, and I think I want the sides to go all the way to the back there, because this would be just like this and it would curve around and that would be fine, but then I'd have to cut off a little bit of the original step here. So I'm gonna go ahead and make these sides go all the way to, all the way to here, and then I'll curve it up on that back edge. But I also want it to be a touch bit longer because it's just not touching that spot. And so, although this isn't bad, I want to make it mo better. Okay, I want to get this welded on here, so I'm going to drill some spot weld holes. Alright, got our spot welds in there. Remembering this little cutout here that we made originally was to clear that leaf spring bracket, which is what this is all about. So I'm going to come in here and cut that out, and I'm going to cut this down a little bit so it doesn't overhang as much because it's unneeded. And then we'll be messing with these ends to make them look right and adding into the corners there. Alright, not out of the woods yet. We still need to make our little piece here. Kind of line it up here. Make our marks here. Mark here, even though we're going to be cutting off a lot of this here. Alright, there's our piece. Looks kind of like a mailbox. Put the little flag on there. I could have cut this and done a solid weld there, but solid welds are a pain in the butt. Also, if it's in this 90°, finishing the weld and making it look right is hard to do. I was able to do it like in this area and it looks fine. But, you know, that's still going to take a little bit of filler, you know, to finish that up. And being a step and being on a truck bed, you know, we'd like to stay away from that. Spot welds are great, you know, and if you got this double fold like I made here, it works out really good. Other thing I'd like to note is you see my stand here that I've been using for my vise. I'm tall, so I like to have my tools tall. So whenever I'm making something like this to have for one of my tools or whatnot, I try to make something that is taller. It's always good to have it, you know, your piece kind of more closer to chest height, you know, so you can really see what you're doing and makes it a little bit easier. So just a few Kyle's tips. We're not out of the woods yet with our project here. You'll notice this is about where we started our curve, and it curves up and goes under here. This was our top bead roll that I made a little bead roll, so it kind of had a little step here. I think it'll look a little cleaner as it's going under this bedside. Now that we have this piece that cuts like that, we're gonna have to cut that out of the fender. I thought about butting it up like this to where we didn't have to mess with the fenders. And I thought maybe if they ever had to replace a fender or something, it'd be a little easier, but it's not that big of a deal in the first place to redo this little piece. We might even be able to take this back piece and flip it over, but I'm guessing that there's going to be a little bit of rust on those pieces, and I'd probably rather just replace them. Now, our piece here, that'll show us what we got to do. So we'll cut this off and then we'll fit our new formed step here and see how she goes. I made these extra heavy duty mounts for the step. For one, the original step bar comes under here, it comes out and holds the step, and that wouldn't fit around this frame very well without cutting it up a lot. And I've never liked how much the bed moves when you step on these. I want to make it really usable truck, you know, especially with this diesel power and all this thing has got. I wanted a really usable truck for Brandon here, so I did weld this guy in. I do need to finish weld him on the top, but we'll get there. Alright, there's our little curvedy piecey. There she is, all buttoned up. Looks pretty nice. I'd step on that.
Black and dead, black and dead blue. The black and down and back into American government. Black and dead, black and dead, black and dead blue.